As some of you may have heard already, I work now as a training coordinator. And so part of my job is to write a training strategy for the institute where I work, first of all, but maybe the slides I was presenting house internally, some of them at least, might be useful here as well. So we change a little bit the perspective, and I try to cover a wider perspective to introduce you to how to develop a training strategy and what one can think about when doing so. So first of all, why are we training? So when I started training something like 2016, 2017, doing my first trainings, yeah, of course, we want to raise the knowledge of our collaborators. So you mostly think about the users who come to your room and what do they want to learn. But what is also kind of interested that we also should, or we also want to train the stuff we care about, and there's not 100% overlap between these two categories. I can train really amazing stuff nobody cares about. And what is also often not thought about is that we have some responsibility to find, for example, in the proposal our institute is funded from, or our collaboration GloBIAS is funded from. So making the funder happy is a key interest, because thanks to these activities and following these rules, you can then set up future collaborations and get even more money for running trainings. So these kind of aspects are going beyond what we can teach and what our collaborators want to learn from us. Furthermore, something I would really recommend thinking about very early in the planning process is the goals of the thing and the metrics you apply in order to figure out if you fulfilled the goals. Depending on what you want to achieve, you will do very different trainings. So just as an example, imagine there's too many people coming to your core facility asking super basic questions. If you want to do a training for them, that's different than, for example, if you want to, in that case, you want to decrease the number of questions. You want to decrease the number of people coming to you, right? And there's another aspect. If you want to increase the number of people who come to you, you will run a completely different training. So that's why I think about early what you want to do and how you want to measure how you execute a training and how successful a training was. There are some aspects you can actually measure quite easily, like how many money did we make with the course or how many people came. But if there's also other things which are harder to measure, you should also think about, in particular, from a funder's perspective. So, for example, sustainability. How do we run trainings that actually serve our campus long term? Yeah, and there's like different questions you can ask. So, if people in evaluations, if people would come again, or which part of a training school they like the most, and these kind of aspects, I would also, if I was you, track long term. So, after every course in the evaluations, try to ask similar questions, and again, define goals before running the training. So this is a slide which I was obviously presenting house internally. It's like not so much bioimage analysis related, but bioimage analysis is like one thing, one kind of training you can do. And if you have modular training similar to how Christian was presenting it, you can, for example, define the training course like this. But you can also make a different target audience accessible to these materials by having additional materials available, for example, for Python basics. Again, depending on who your target audience is, you would then offer a different course, or in this case, you could offer a course where some people join maybe on the second day. Also very important, do not forget this aspect. There must be social events, in particular when you have courses on a national or an international level, so that the people can have headache in the morning together. Because suffering together makes a community. One more aspect when it comes to how to put modules together. Think about a very basic course. You want to teach image analysis to biologists, you have to bring Python skills to them, but you also don't have to. You can also just run a Python with a basics course without Python, and there's multiple ways of doing this. So just showing them how to click in Fitchi, how to use Imaris. The other way, what I would like to point out here is you can also say, okay, you can come to our course, but you have to come with basic Python skills. You have to learn them in advance elsewhere. And the even more advanced variant would be this one, where you then say, okay, we really would like to have a hardcore course. I think this is pretty much the thing Florian is doing in Milan. If you offer like a really substantial multi-day deep learning data science a proper, like, advanced course. And depending on which kind of these courses you run this, I'm coming back to what I said before, different collaborations will spawn. And that's why I define goals early. Do you want to have a lot of people on campus clicking, or do you want to have people on campus who do deep learning, who use deep learning methods to process a lot of images in a modern way? And depending on this, you run a different course. One strategy also I like a lot, and I'm here citing this paper Gabi, Kota, and many others wrote back in the days, and Fabrice, where there is one aspect I really loved about the new GloBIAS style training schools. Imagine you have a training school in 2016 here, example, organizers, trainers, and students. And then there is a year later, there's a new school happening, and you take one of these students, you realize, there was this one person super active. So we should actually ask them if they want to serve as trainer in the next school. And then a year later, they may even help with organizing. This is how you build a community. And I've only seen this in the new GloBIAS sphere. I've seen other courses where, like, every time different trainers are there, different students are there, and next year again. So you cannot build a community like that, but you can build a community like this. If you really make it sustainable in a sense that the same people meet again and again and kind of level up step by step, that helps everybody involved. Think about money. There's no free lunch. So here's some examples. A course we ran in Leipzig just recently, 3 days, 300 euro. And we did the same thing pretty much for the same price in Dresden the year before. And we actually do this for quite some years. Again, with the advanced courses, I would say you can make more money. And I'm not talking about making money and then going home rich. You can then also use this money for, like, advanced training, for inviting people from far away. In particular, with these advanced topics, it might be reasonable to invite a trainer from a different continent, like a really hardcore deep learning expert. They should not have to teach the entire week, but maybe you want to have a really, really super advanced keynote speaker from a Lighthouse Institute, giving some inspiration to the people, and then together with them, you make some training materials and teach deep learning, for example. Then I have a couple of slides about sharing training materials, because that's one of my favorite topics. I guess you all know the FAIR principles. And what I would like to point out here, there's multiple ways of doing that. You can share videos on YouTube, and you can share slides, and you can make Jupyter books, and, like, they all have advantages and disadvantages. What I would like to highlight at that point, that FAIR training materials, sharing and putting links on Twitter is a PR instrument. So I'm not just training coordinator, I'm also working in public relations to some degree. And this is like, I don't do this for fun. I do this because I would like to have more course attendees. I would like to have my course filled with people, and not just from the city where I work. I would like to have some exchange with other cities. And then there's new collaborations spawning from that. So we do this fully intentionally, that we share all these training materials, that you find our institute logo on our slides everywhere on the internet. So it's like fully intentional, not just for fun. Also from a personal perspective, another point in this particular context, so these are on Zenodo, the slides from the semester I was teaching at university. It's something like 900 slides, a lot of work involved. There were 15 students, and some of them were really motivated. And thousands of people downloaded these slides. So that makes me actually happy. So it feels like less wasted time. Or did I say that? Will it be online? If people can all over the world download this stuff, and then also you meet them right on conferences and they say thank you. So this makes me happy, because I'm uploading this stuff to the internet, and I feel like I'm contributing to the community. Sharing training materials in a fair way, in a modular way, in particular these permissive licenses that you can legally reuse them, is something that is not commonly known in our community. So here I would also say we have to think about training the trainers of how to share their materials so that others can reuse them. Because at the moment it's only happening to a limited degree. I will now ask a bad question. Those of you who gave a talk here this week, who will share their slides CC BY licensed? We have to improve on this. I thank you guys, but we have to become much, much better in this particular aspect. Okay, When we think about training, we should also think about, I mean, we as GloBIAS should think about, but also you and your local communities, who to do this together with. You should not set up a training program on campus or in your country only for yourself. Try to invite the neighboring countries. Try to invite somebody from GloBIAS, for example, somebody you met here for the very first time. Do things together, exchange, and you will spare a lot of effort. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. You've seen multiple sources for excellent training materials exist. Also, the stuff Christian was showing is CC BY licensed, right? So everybody can use it. It's very, very easy. Okay, with that, I would like to thank funding agencies, communities, my small team in Leipzig, and I thank you for your attention.